Hello everyone and welcome to Engage Africa Foundation Festival 2022. We're really happy to have you join us and tune in. The theme for this year's festival is Mobilizing for a Healthy Africa. And this panel discussion will be talking specifically on cycling through African cities. This is a topic that's really interesting, and I know it's also going to excite you and intrigue you as you listen. We have two amazing guest panelists. They are experienced in this field and they are professionals. So I'm going to start by introducing them, after which I introduce myself and my co-moderator. So first panelist here is Mr. Seun Adesanya. He's a transportation and technology enthusiast with over 7 years of experience in transportation, logistics, and fintech. Mr. Seun is a co-founder of City Cyclers Club, which is a growing community of cycling based in Lagos State, Nigeria. They have a mission to encourage cycling from the grassroots as a culture among Nigerians. Mr. Seun, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'm excited to moderate this very important conversation with everyone, with Mr. Seun, my co-moderator. My name is Osazemen Aghedo. My co-moderator is
Aimable Uwimana.
Yeah. So I invite everyone following us today to share insights using the comment section, to share key points or key learning points from them on their social media channels, start the conversation. Main aim in Engage Africa Foundation using this festival is an opportunity to create narratives and inspire action that can put health and well-being at the center of Africa's development, considering the rise of non-communicable diseases in Africa. So we hope that this festival is also a platform to achieve this. Yes, so I'll hand over to my co-moderator to start the session.
Okay, thank you, Osazemen for being here. We are glad to have you here at Tech, a cyclist. Maybe before I start asking the first question, I would like to let you know that I'm also a cyclist, mostly doing mountain biking. So I hope you're going to share with us the experience. And the first question we have, would like to know from you, could you tell us more about your work, even the events you do as Lagos City Cyclers? Seun.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to this session. Thanks for the warm welcome. A little bit about what we do at City Cyclers Club, like it was earlier mentioned, we encourage grassroots cycling, right? We encourage the culture of cycling in Nigeria, starting from Lagos, where we are based. So, as we all know, the history in Nigeria. In fact, I keep telling everyone that cycling was the main mode of transportation in the earlier days. I mean, right before I was born, and a lot of us were born, cycling was the main mode of transport. Almost everybody had a bicycle then, right? Then over time, development came, the cars came in, the buses came in, the trucks came in, and all of that. And it's just been watered down. We just have probably the guys selling stuff. Very few of us still cycling and taking it up. I'm not even speaking of as a sport, but more a mode of transportation, right? Even the sports culture for cycling isn't where we want it to be in Nigeria right now. So we're trying to bring all of that back. We're trying to have people who I'm at home and I need to get to the mall to probably pick up one or two things. And the mall is about less than 5 kilometers away or something. I don't need to pick the car at home, right? I'm going to the mall. I'm going there alone. I'm not going to carry a lot of things. I'm not going to pick up load or anything. I'm just going there alone. I'm coming back alone. I don't need to pick up the car. If I can't walk there because of the distance, I mean, I might as well take a bike and let me be able to do that without being looked down upon, right? A lot of people see people cycling on the road and think that, oh, they can't afford something else. But I mean, you and I know the price of some bikes these days and all of that, but that's aside the discussion. So that's what we do at City Cyclers, right? We know that there are a lot of young people who probably had a bicycle while growing up and they outgrew it and it was never replaced. So we're bringing that back. We're telling them that it's okay to pick up a bicycle now and start with that. It's okay to use your bike to work. It's okay to use your bike to school, to church right now. So that's what we do at this.
Okay. Yeah. That insight. I think you made us laugh when you said like now people consider it as something less of value in these days or in this modern age. And that now will take me to another question. Now, like, what is it like to be a cyclist in Lagos?
It's a lot, but personally, it's interesting. It's really interesting, and it's challenging, right? So I'll tell you the good side, and I'll tell you the not so good side, right? As a cyclist in Lagos, it's in fact as a cyclist anywhere, you get to take in your city more. The places where you probably drive by on a regular day, where probably your commute to work, you pass a lot of things and you don't know what's going on. Your mind is just on the road and where you're headed to, right? So you miss out. I feel like you miss out on a lot of things, right? Maybe because I see things. I'm also a photographer, right? I do that personally. So maybe because I see things from that angle. As a cyclist, I could probably stop midway. Maybe I'm on a bridge or I sight something or I see something that does look good and you just want to take in that experience. You get to experience that as a cyclist. You can't park your car on the road and do any of it. You get to experience that as a cyclist, right? So it's fun. It's fun. It's eye-opening. Now, as a cyclist in Lagos, right? Lagos is one of the most populous cities you would find anywhere, right? And it's kind of overpopulated with people. It's also really populated with cars, and we don't have the right infrastructure, the right law backing for cyclists here. So you have to be extra careful when you're a cyclist in Lagos. I mean, we've been able to find a way around that. You know, that there's a lot of us who are cycling and who take up cycling as a major mode of transport here. So it's challenging, especially when you don't have the right infrastructure backing, you don't have the right laws and all of that. So it's pretty challenging. You need to know that, oh, if anything does go wrong, you're not in the best position to defend yourself and all of that. People are not well enlightened. The public transport drivers, even the pedestrians on the road, they're not properly enlightened. It can be a whole lot better. So those are the little challenges that we're also trying to fix from our own end.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Wow, I think this conversation will be keeping being good. You said about photography. I think that's one of the things that I engage in when I'm just doing this, and
Oh, that's nice.
right, engaging how you say that doing it in a car, like, you don't observe things. You see, you're in actual traffic jam, like not cannot get that opportunity to think, to see people, to even greet people as you do with cycling. And I think that are a good advantage, as you said. And we talk more of other challenges that you were tackling on the other questions. But thank you for sharing such insight. And maybe now I started imagining myself cycling in.
Good. That'll be good.
I just want to say, I know Aimable said it before we started the session that he's a cycler. I am not a cycler, at least not yet. I am still learning how to cycle, but at least it's nice that all of us on this platform, we all are into photography. I do photography also.
Oh,
Aimable
nice.
does photography, so knowing you do photography, so we can use photography as the major lens.
Yeah, yes. That's good.
Okay, so my next question is, I like the insight you gave on how cycling, the challenges it is as a cycler in Lagos you face. I know the UN, one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that's the Goal 11, talks about sustainable cities. And even the UN Habitat advocates for safer and more inclusive cities. And this can be achieved. One of the ways of achieving it, not the sole way, but one of the ways is by promoting walking, by promoting cycling, because these are more attractable and more sustainable and even more efficient forms of mobilities, irrespective of where you stay or where you live. I know a lot of cities in Africa are working on this currently, like this Salam in Tanzania, and also in Nairobi, Kenya. They are working and they are leveraging this. I want to ask, how is cycling promoted in Lagos State? Because I know that's your base. So how is cycling promoted in Lagos State?
Okay, so in Lagos State, I'm aware that the Ministry of Transport, through one of their bodies, LAMATA, the Lagos Area Lagos State Metropolitan Area Transport Authority. They do have, they've been working recently on the non-motorized transport policy, right? So it encourages these things that you have said. So now we see them when we're talking about new road constructions or new road expansions. Every now and then we see them talk about cycling paths, right? And I'm aware we have one of those in Lagos Island right now, which is excellent, which is great. So we know that the government is listening. When we speak, when we do things like this, we know that the government is listening and they want to do better, right? So we see it in some of their policies, we see it in some of their actions. But at the same time, we're always here to encourage them because we know it can be way better. Sometime last year, also we had one of the major malls, major central malls in Lagos State, that's the Ikeja City Mall, put up a cycling parking space, right, which was a big plus. So we have these facilities. We have, if we could have a mall, encourage people to. I mean, it's a place whereby if you drive your car in there, you pay to park your car, right? So they're even generating money when you bring in the bike, when you bring in your car, and for them to take that step and say, okay, you know what? Instead of bringing your car in here, why not ride your bike? And you're going to have a safe space to park that bike. You're able to park it there, you're able to lock it there and go in, do your thing, come out, and your bike is there safely. So we have malls doing this. We're looking to have banks do this. We're looking to have schools do this. We're looking to have public, we're looking to have the BRT bus stops, right? We're looking to have cycling parking spots at the BRT spots. So whereby, I mean, I'm going a distance for work and I don't have to drive. I mean, Lagos transport can be one hell of a thing. So you really don't want to be driving it. So you need to know, okay, if I pick up my bike, maybe you don't want to go that distance with your bike. Yeah, you don't want to get to the office and sweating and trying to figure out how to now freshen up after that. You could pick up your bike, do a short distance to the closest BRT bus stop, or even any of the regulated bus transport services. We have a lot of them in Lagos right now. Pick up your bike, do that, and those buses are air conditioned and they are very, very comfortable. Pick up your bike, do that, and the only reason why I would want to do that is knowing that if I pick up my bicycle and get to that bus, I'm going to find a safe space to park it, and it's going to be secured enough that when I come back, whenever I come back, that I'm going to meet my bike there. So we're having these baby steps being taken, which is encouraged, but we do know that they can be better and they can be faster, right? So each of these cycling groups, we're doing our own little part in raising awareness for this. So at the same time, we're also promoting the health benefits of cycling, the health benefits of cycling to the mental health, to your physical health, and I mean all around. So there are people who want to hear that, and there are people who are picking up cycling just because of that. I've had a couple of people who have used cycling to come out from depression, who have used cycling to get their fitness goals. I mean, that was fresh from the lockdown. Then we had a lot of people who picked up cycling to achieve those goals. So yeah, we have little communities here and there in Lagos who are doing a big part of this job, a big part of raising awareness, and we know that, and we've gotten confirmation that the right people are listening.
Okay, thank you so much for that, because from your response, you can see that your organization and many more organizations and even city malls are taking initiatives to encourage cycling in Lagos State. So you also mentioned something about the government policies. That's a little insight into my next question, my follow-up question, but I'm going to put it in a scale now. I'm going to say in Lagos State, using a scale of extremely or average or like pretty low, how do you say how committed is the government towards promoting cycling? Using a scale, extremely, average, or like low? How committed would you say the government?
That's a very strict scale. You could have said maybe if you said 1 to 10, I could have.
Okay.
But extremely, average, really low. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say really low. Okay. Because I mean, we're talking about Lagos State here. And we know the capacity of Lagos State. If it was I'm not going to mention states, but obviously if it was some other states in Lagos State is like the front runner in Nigeria. I mean, so it has to be better. Their own standards have to be way higher than any other state. So I'm going to have to say extremely low. It can be way better.
Okay, so since you say no, so what do you think the government can do to promote cycling in Lagos State?
Yeah, so I've mentioned a few, and there is more, right? The government could help. The government could intensify their awareness efforts. I know I have noticed a couple of publications, especially on the social media page of Lamata, which is related to the Ministry of Transport, right? And whereby they talk about these things. But we know that they have the capacity to do way more, right? We know that they have the capacity, like what I mentioned about the BRT bus stops. We have major BRT bus stops in central areas in Lagos State, major stops in Ikorodu, in Maryland, in Ikeja, Oshodi, everywhere. So we could have these facilities and we could raise awareness there. We could also have the state government partner with these communities. I mean, I know that there are conversations between these communities and the state government, and every now and then the government does support, especially when these communities reach out to them for support for whatever idea they are working on. But we need the state government to champion these causes, right? There's so much we could do as private individuals, but we need we're talking about infrastructure here. So we definitely do expect the state government to champion this discussion. We need to see it in every action they're taking, especially when it comes to transportation. We need to see, okay, for example, now we're working on the rail network, we're working on the PRT system in Lagos. We need to see, we could have buses who have bicycle carriers on them, right? So these things would encourage, and definitely that's for the government to pick up. So we need to see them take the bull by the horn here and be the champions of this cause.
Okay, thank you for your response. And the suggestions also you raised. I think those are the key points or key takeaways. One of the key takeaways that's really necessary. I'm going to flip the question now and ask, how do you think the government can promote Lagos State through cycling? So not now, so not just promoting cycling, but promoting Lagos State itself through cycling. How do you think? Is it currently done? If it's done, how? If it's not done, how do you think that can be done?
Okay, so well, one way, I think the easiest way would be through a cycling competition. Lagos State, I believe, has the capacity to host an international event. We just witnessed one in Abuja, which was really, really interesting. I think Nigeria came fourth or so in the cycling championship. I think South Africa picked that up. Lagos State has the capacity to hold that, and when I say the capacity, I mean in all areas, right? Because I mean we were able to host the Access Marathon, so definitely we could host a cycling marathon and all that. So and definitely if you're hosting events like that, you're putting Lagos State on the world map, or you're putting Lagos State high up there. So Lagos State has the capacity to host these events, promote these communities, and also so I feel like that. If we what the UN is working on, if the Lagos State is able to take up initiatives like that and champion such events, champion the NMT policies, champion the right infrastructure to promote cycling, to promote walking, right? It's definitely going to put the state high up there on the world map.
Okay. I think it's a good reference, you referencing the Access Bank City Marathon, because I know that's a major one, and I know how major roads in Lagos State are put, irrespective of how busy it is, they are put at a standstill just so the runners can pass through. So definitely, I think such thing can be replicated, like you said, for...
Let me mention how cyclists always look forward to that day, because the roads are closed. So when all the runners take off, we actually have cyclists who just take advantage of that road closure, because you're not going to see that any other day.
Okay, nice. You just expose you guys street. I guess the next marathon, you guys will be more cyclists will come out. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. And I think my next question that I wanted to ask, it is among what you said, maybe you have any other thing you want to add on some of the enablers that enables your experience to be kind of smooth or satisfying in one way or another. Could you shed more light on some of the enablers that amplify or help your cycling experience in the Lagos? Where I knew that you talked about non-motorized parking or transport engagement, or you also talked about some of the policies that need to be improved, but also some of the facilities. What are the enablers, or if you can go deep in these examples you shared with us?
Okay. Aside those that I have mentioned, we would one thing that would also encourage if we see more effort from the private sector also. Like I think I also mentioned banks. We need banks to pick up and to encourage this. The same way we're having cycling accessibility and parking spots in malls. And the same way we're championing for them at BRT stops. We could have, I'm using banks as an example because we have them everywhere. And a lot of times you probably just want to, most times the bank is very close to where are you? Are you at home or your office? The bank is very close to them. But for whatever reason you don't want to walk, you're going to have to drive all the way there, maybe because of time and whatever. But same thing you would achieve by driving there, you can achieve by cycling there. Again, I'm not going to want to drive and ride my bike to any facility like that where if I'm not sure it's going to be safe. So we can have every private facility, and it's not something that costs so much. It's not actually not something that costs so much. So we can have every private facility make up this arrangement that you can't ride a bike here and you can't park your bike here and you can safely lock it here. So instead of bringing your car and crowding up the space for the roads, you can actually cycle here. So if we have more of same way we're asking for the government to increase their efforts. If we have more private facilities, more private bodies, also make these facilities available at their locations, then yes, the world is definitely going to go around much faster. So that will definitely help a lot.
Okay, thank you for such an insightful answer. And now I'm from Rwanda, and I know one of the enablers that help, like cycling in Kigali specifically, is that actually today was car-free day, in a month, 2 weeks apart, they do car-free day, and that's where people just do hiking, do walks, they do jogging, and also cyclers just enjoy the city with cycling. So do you have these kinds of events in Lagos that helps, well, I know that Lagos is busy and then people are moving, like now, do the governor say like, let's close the city, let all these cars not move? So how are events like that in Lagos when they are trying to engage or enable you to have such a good experience with all those groups also talked about?
Okay, so right now, one other thing we do at City Cyclers Community is we partner with a lot of foundations who want to raise awareness for positive causes. For example, in Women's Month, we had a couple of partnerships with foundations who wanted to raise awareness for breast cancer, for endometriosis, and things like that. So when we do those partnerships, we're more familiar with walks, people taking walks and raising awareness. So we've now introduced cycling to this, right? So you can have people walking and people cycling. So I'm saying this because when we do that, they don't block off the roads. We always have support from the Lagos State Transport and Management Authority, the local security service, and all of that. So they help to cordon cars and make walking and cycling safe, right? So where I'm going to is right now, I think this will be the first car-free day that will hold in Lagos State. So I can't say so much about it, but there are plans for that. And I can see the smiles because it's thinking of a car-free day in Lagos State, it's almost impossible, right? It's almost impossible. So there are plans, right? And it's coming up later this year. I'm not sure, either between September and November. It's coming up later this year, and yeah, it's going to happen anyway. So the Ministry of Transport is well on board with it as usual. Like I said, they always come in and support when we bring these initiatives. So we're working on it. It's most likely going to be a section of Lagos. It's not going to be the whole Lagos. Most likely going to be a section of Lagos. We're working on approvals on where we could have access to or have the authority, the authorization to do this. So yeah, And if we do that, it's going to be successful, then it's going to be a regular thing, because I'm not sure of a better way to raise awareness for cycling in Lagos State than to do something like that. So yeah, we're looking at making that a major one in Lagos. So Lagos State Car Free is coming up. You can look out for that.
Okay. Yeah, I've been telling Osaze that I can't wait to come to Lagos. Maybe I'll enjoy that. Yeah, I think that's good experience, that not only that car free day or events like that, but also other stakeholders, as you said, give you opportunity to show up as well. Not only just working, but also cycling event individuals joining the campaigns. That's good. And when we're starting, as I said, we could have one idea of photography as something that we all do. And I think you know that next month it will be, I think it will be 19th, it will be photography day, right? And I know like in Rwanda, some of the photographers take a week and then they celebrate photography. They cheer some of the upcoming photographers. They teach about photography. They invite, like they make such day or such week celebrated. And in our discussion now, I think it was April 2018, United Nations declared June 3rd as the World Bicycle Day, right? So
Yes.
how is this day celebrated, if I can say, in back home, like in your city? Actually,
Okay.
before we can even go forward with that question, as cyclists, do you think that is an important day?
Of course, it's a very important day. I mean, I always look forward to the preparations of that day. So it's actually a very important day. In fact, the celebration last year was one of the, if not the biggest, right? Because we had all of these cycling communities come together at the Lagos State Secretariat. That's where the governor's office is. So around there, like I always say, the Lagos State would always Lagos State government would always come in for these initiatives. So it's usually usually well looked forward to by every cyclist in Lagos. We
Mm.
like all the communities come together, and I think it fell on a weekday. So yeah, we had those who could represent at the major event at the secretariat. Then on the Saturday, which was the next Saturday, that weekend, we had all these communities right together around Lagos. So you're not going to miss it. If you're driving around that route that day, you're not going to miss it. You see that it's actually a whole lot of cycling going on in Lagos. I mean, even with the massive population, there is actually a whole lot of cycling going on in Lagos. So every now and then when we do things like this and people see that, they're like, oh, that's someone cycling. So cycling isn't that bad. Oh, you can survive cycling in Lagos. That's nice. So they always reach out. People always reach out. And it encourages the next person, which is the good thing about it. It always encourages next one, because I mean in Lagos that's the major fear. Right? Especially people who actually drive. That's the major fear. Is the bus driver going to see me? What of the bikes on the road? What of the tricycles on the road? Are they going to see me? But they see people doing it, and they see people who don't expect, and they see them doing it, and they're doing it comfortably, and it just changes the whole narrative for them. So yeah, well, anyways, it's a day we also celebrate here in Lagos, and it's a big day for cyclists in Lagos.
Wow. I think that's inspiring. I haven't, well, maybe it might have been happening in Rwanda as well, but I think officially I haven't seen that. So, as a cyclist, I should have
Oh,
joined that. So I think
okay.
it's a big one back home, and that's a good experience. And with this example, I remember we talked about how the government help, like in some way or another. And in the same year, actually, in Rwanda, Rwanda Cycling Federation said how the government has been trying to become a continental cycling house. We have some tournaments like Tour de Rwanda and other experiences as that. And Rwanda the government took a decision of reducing some of the taxes for the imported sport bikes. Like
Oh,
now, back home, how is the experience of actually having access to bikes? Since you are doing advocacy, you're engaging people, and we need to know actually if they if it is easy to even have a bike. back home.
So that's a tricky area because I mean, if you know well about bikes, bikes have grades, right? So anybody right now, bicycles are distributed by anybody can afford one, right? There's a bicycle for everybody. That's what I like to say. So they are readily accessible in Lagos. They're readily accessible in Lagos. But we would love to have such policies like you have there. That would really help because I mean, just like importing any other thing on this side of the world, it gets a bit difficult, especially with the exchange rate and things like that. So yeah, those kind of things will help. But right now there are no special considerations. There are no special considerations. We have a lot of private people who just chip in their thing and do their thing. So at the end of the day, when a good sports bike, let me talk about the sports bike now. When a good sports bike lands here, especially the shipping costs, the taxes, and all of that, it just blows the price over. But people who do know the value and who are very passionate, they end up getting it. But there's a whole lot more that can be done in terms of policies to that axis. And we're really hoping that if the government then decides to take this non-motorized transport policy, they could look that way and also say, let's make it easier for these guys to bring these things in, to bring quality things in at the most affordable prices and all of that. So in terms of bringing that in here, it can be way, way, way better. It can be way, way better.
Okay, yeah. I think that point you raised about this policy they have brought, it's a good entry point in terms of reducing the taxes or even allowing more opportunities when it comes to have access on these cycling events. Well, as I told you when we started, you mentioned about some of the challenges that you mainly face in the city. And I would say on the side of Rwanda, I think one of the major challenge, it might be also in Lagos. Kigali is one of the most populated cities in the country. And then apart from benefiting from events like a car-free zone or car-free day that engages people to have such enough area to engage their cycling events or experience. So I would right now add some lines on some of the challenges you said. Now, what is the experience there when we talk about some of the challenges where maybe you talked about those events you plan and then it is not affected by the traffic maybe in the Lagos city. So what are other challenges you can highlight and then we can see if we relate with other cities?
Okay, so the reason why we're able to host those events is because one of the most important things is the same way you're engaging the Lagos state government, you need to engage the security personnel, right? Because you need to have the transport management. That's the last mile anyway. They control the traffic and all that. You need to have them on board. You need to have the Federal Road Safety Commission on board. You need to have the neighborhood watch. That's the state security service on board. So those things are important. Then obviously your ambulance or health vehicle, you need to have that on board. So when you have the security services and the transport management services on board, they know how to handle the roads, right? They know how to handle that challenge, which is really, really important. So, and they always come to it. Like I said, they always look forward to doing these things because they know, I'm sure they know it's right. They are aware of the benefits. So they always come in to support them. And I notice they're always excited about it. So I think another major challenge here would be enlightenment. Even though we feel like the world is going, the world is going around, right? And people are hearing what we're saying. Like I said, Lagos is very, very popular. So we need more people to hear this. And we know that it's something that the government is coming on. We need more people to hear about these benefits of cycling, why you should consider cycling instead of other conventional modes of transportation. We need the enlightenment. I think that's another major challenge that we experience here, the education of having to educate people on the benefits of cycling, having to educate, another thing is having to educate drivers or other road users on sharing the road with cyclists. Those are the major challenges that we would experience.
Okay. Yeah. So on the same note with the how everyone is using the same load and then like we are achieving different purposes. Maybe the buses that in my sports, even the pedestrian. So I think among the enablers you maybe did not mention about it, or you did not provide you provide some of the examples of facilities. Anyways, I want to know, do you have some cycling lanes, like when you are talking about the load you are sharing?
So, uh, like we have, I'm just aware of one that, in fact, it was recently introduced at Lagos Island. Like I said, it's a major populated area in Lagos, and for them to have a cycling lane, it's encouraging. We have a couple of facilities or parks who have, I think I know of one in Oregon that has cycling lanes and all that. So I mean, if we have people who go to the park and they see that, they also get encouraged. But generally, there's a whole lot that can be done. In fact, especially with the, the last mile roads, the major roads, it's almost non-existent in most of these places. In
Mm,
fact, one of I was at the National Stadium some weeks back. It was one of my first few times of going there and really, really observing the place. And I saw that they had a whole lot of facilities. That's the federal stadium here because they had a whole lot of facilities. And I mean, for almost every sport. And looking back then when it was built, I mean, cycling was major in Nigeria as a mode of transportation. But I didn't cite any cycling facilities there, which was rather disappointing. But the good thing was I realized was the stadium built in Abuja, that's the capital. Stadium built in Abuja is a whole lot more recent than that. They have a cycling velodrome. That's where it hosted the competition. So I'm guessing if they're planning to renovate the stadium in Lagos very soon, they would have
mm,
the cycling velodrome, cycling facilities in there because there are a lot of amazing professional cyclists even in Lagos State. So it's a bit unfortunate or it's saddening to know that they don't have the right facilities to train with. So they have to go overboard to do their trainings to represent Nigeria in a major international competition. So there's a whole lot that can be done there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the road training facilities and all of that. There's a whole lot that can be done in that space.
okay, yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's why maybe we're having these conversations actually to know where we are and then where we hope to go as the continent when we are having healthier cities as we mobilize. And I'll go to this other question. If you can remember, actually, you shared with us some of the insights in our previous blog of how the experience was in COVID. And now you mentioned how sometimes different government, different stakeholders now help with the cycling events. We know ambulance, you have security, you have any other person that helps. So we read from our blog, which we invite our audience to go and check on our blog, how it was easier and actually refreshing for you to engage regulars when it was not overloaded. So we were in lockdown. So we must say that was the best moment you enjoyed cycling. So now my question is, how is it now? Because that was an inspiring experience, or how you got an opportunity to use the Lord as you wanted. So how is the experience now? Apart from, well, you might add what you said on how sometimes you work with officials, but how is it now compared to how you enjoyed it during the lockdown event?
Okay, so let me start by saying during the lockdown days, I didn't have any near accident experiences. So there was nothing like that. But I mean now the cars are on the road. For me, I think I've gotten quite used to that. But it's not the best part because the with the roads at their full capacity now, it's not the safest place for a cyclist, right?
Mm,
Especially if you're new to this, it's definitely not going to be encouraging, especially if you're just picking it up and things like that. So it's not the safest place, but we do know that people are being more aware. Like if I'm cycling either alone or with a couple of community members or with other cyclists, right? If I get to a traffic stop, the traffic managers they usually prioritize cyclists. So we know that they they see the importance. We know that they understand that the roads are not as safe for us as the other road users. So they prioritize our safety. I've seen that, in fact, just yesterday, I've seen that a whole lot of times whereby the traffic manager, the security operatives prioritize our safety on the road. So the experience, it's definitely a whole lot more challenging now compared to then. But again, as a photographer, I guess I get to see Lagos in its full glory now that everyone is in the road. So that's another
side. Okay. Yeah. You don't wish that COVID come back so that we can...
No, I'm not going to see that on camera.
Yeah, I think we are heading in a good terms with COVID, and now I like that perspective of course, enjoying the crowd with your photography and ideas coming when you can't move well as you wish. Yeah, that's about the adventure of part of it, where when you're traveling and then yeah, enjoying the city with cycling. Yeah, that was good part of it, because like we wondered, so if he had this experience in COVID, and how is it now? I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, so I want to ask, you've talked about some challenges, some limitations, and you have also gave some recommendations on what can be done, especially in Lagos State. I want to ask now, where do you see cycling in Africa, like in African cities? Where do you see it going? Where do you see the future of cycling in African cities? We're not going to do any comparison with some European countries, but we know how cycling is in some European countries. So how do you see cycling in African cities going?
I mean, for cycling in African cities, with the effort I've seen, with the enthusiasm, I think the sky is the limit. In fact, the sky is the starting point. Let me say it that way, because I've seen some amazing, same way I've seen some great sports professionals in every other field. Same way Nigeria is popular for its football and its basketball and these other sports. I see cycling getting to that point, because I love what happened there, what was hosted in Rwanda recently. In fact, aside from Nigeria being represented, we had private clubs who were able to sponsor their own cyclists to go there and represent their own brands there, and it was great. So it shows how serious everyone is taking cycling. So and with that kind of encouragement, like I said, the sky is the starting point. So next couple of years, we're definitely going to see Africans taking the center stage at the Tour de France and the other international events. We're definitely getting there. We're getting there soon.
Thank you for that. You mentioned Tour de France, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
we are getting there, because as a sport professional, like me, I'm a sport professional. It's really beautiful. It's a beautiful sight seeing, watching competitions like Tour de France and some other tours that they do. It's really interesting, and it's you get to see how important this is. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not just important on the body as a whole, building your body system, so you can be able to full capacity to fight against non-communicable diseases. It's also helpful for the environment. Like it's a better way to travel and more efficient way to travel. And even Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni, said that it's earlier to use a bicycle than a public transport. And I think that's just a fact. So you can't argue with that. So I want to ask you, what do you think cycling could do? How do you think cycling can help, like especially dealing with some challenges? Or how do you see cycling as a coping mechanism for issues like isolation, especially during like the case of COVID pandemic that you mentioned? So how can cycling be a coping mechanism? Or how can it help deal with issues of isolation I don't want to use future pandemic, but in cases where we are not able to come outside, or we are unable to go to public areas, how can you see cycling? How can cycling help deal with this?
Well, for example, I remember when I was well in the public transport sector, the public transport sector took a hit during COVID, right? So we had to cut down on bus capacity and things like that. Bus capacity, I think we first cut it down to 50%, from 70 to 50%, and lower than that. So it had its effect on the operators, and it also had its effect on the people because people had to spend longer time waiting at bus stops. Buses generally were not enough anymore. So, I mean, why not cycle? Actually, why not just cycle instead of having to go through that stress of waiting? And also, it provides that alternative mode of transportation. So, that's just an example in a case like that. And in that kind of scenario where say there's a lockdown or anything, we had the last one. We had so many cases of people being unfit, and it was pretty detrimental to a lot of people's health, their physical health, their mental health. So, in terms of fitness, cycling is cycling, I always say, I'm not going to come out and say it's the best. It's one of the best ways to keep fit, but it's the most interesting. It's by far the most interesting way to keep fit. So, and by keeping fit, it also has this big benefit on your mental health because you get, like I said, you get to experience the city from another point of view. You get to see the beautiful scenery and all that has its effect on your mental health. And you get to meet a whole lot of amazing, great people outside, and like the things you skip when you're in your car, when you're in your vehicle, you get to experience those things. So it has a big effect on your mental health, on your physical health, and it's a great alternative mode of transport. So for me, those are the ways it helps in those kind of areas, that kind of area.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that response. A follow-up question I want to ask, like during COVID, there was reduced, because there was reduced traffic, we can say, and yes, there was an increase in the number of cyclists across the country. Like you said, in Lagos State, you mentioned that in one of your responses, that there was more cycling, more cyclists on the road. I guess one of the effects was also bicycle dealers, mechanics, they must have cashed out during that period. Well, yes, I want to ask this question in lines with gender. So how is girls and women engagement in cycling in your city? Because growing up I am from Nigeria, growing up, I didn't really see so much female cyclists. I can say that, even though I know that even seeing cyclists so rampant was really low, but when I saw them, it was more of male cyclists. So how can you say, like, how it is now? How is the level of environment, like girls and women engagement in cycling in Lagos State?
Okay. I mean, as with most sports in Lagos or on this part of the world, we usually have more men in them. But in cycling, it's a bit encouraging because, in fact, every now and then we have a new interest from the lady. And the thing about ladies is that when they see another lady doing something, they tend to feel safe, or there's that sense of safety in what they do when they see another lady that's involved in it and that's doing it well. So one lady calls the next lady, tells the next lady. So we see the movement. It's definitely more of a male-dominated area, but we have a lot of ladies in cycling right now, and I mean, a lot of them, they are doing very well. I don't know if you're familiar with Lagos. I have a lady that cycles from Ikeja to Aja. She has done that with me, which is Ikeja to Aja and back, actually. So which was a little over 100 kilometers. So we have ladies like that. We have ladies like that around, and
Definitely
I mean,
motivating me.
we have a couple of ladies who do intercity, right? Interstate. At least I know of a couple of ladies just about 2 months ago, they did a ride from Ikeja to Lekki to Epe to Ijebu Ode to Ibadan, then back the next day. So I haven't done that. I'm looking forward to doing that. So I mean that's probably about 200 kilometers, right? If you're not familiar with that. So we have ladies who are also picking this up because it's also a great it's one of the easiest ways to keep fit, right? To achieve whatever fitness goal you have, and it's the most interesting way. So we know that we do need to intensify efforts to get more ladies into cycling, because I would say, I mean, estimating, I would say for every 4 to 5 guys in cycling, there's a lady. It's still something. It still goes a long way, but we need to intensify the awareness. For yeah, there's some traction from that end.
So how do you see the trends in the years to come? with the efforts or with the just what you mentioned is ladies are already doing intercity, they are already breaking waves or raising reactions in the cycling industry in Lagos State. How do you see these trends in the years to come? Do you see that something that's going to increase or probably decrease?
Oh, it's definitely going to increase. It's definitely going to increase because like I say, we're talking about for ladies here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to increase because like I said, if one lady sees another lady doing something and they see it's safe and they see how it helps the next lady, they always want to get on board. In fact, I before this session, I was just coming back from a training session where it's a training class of there were about 4 people learning how to cycle. There were 3 ladies and 1 guy. So it's and it's always been like that, especially at that grassroots level. So yeah, actually, maybe back to my last question, there are more ladies coming into cycling. So and it's only going to get better. The world is only going to go around more from this point. So in the coming years, we're going to have a whole lot more ladies on board with this.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope in the coming years I'll be one of the ladies cycling intercity
in the coming months
or doing intercountry to Rwanda. Okay, thank you very much for that response and the positivity included in the response.
Yeah, I think now you won't have an excuse when I come to
Yes.
we'll be with Adesanya together. You have learned, make sure. Yeah, I think that's inspiring. I know even here in Rwanda they're trying to engage that. You see some even academies trying to engage girls do some of the competitions. And that's where we're heading. So it's positivity, as you mentioned or highlighted, and from your response. And well, maybe we can't even finish. It is exciting to see how the map is on the continent, and we hope we are heading in a good manner. And before we conclude our discussion, well, we asked many questions to Adesanya, but we would like to know if there is any other thing that you would like to share with our audience. Maybe we know most of them who joined, they're excited or interested in cycling, but also others wanted to learn about it. So what else can you share with our audience?
Well, I mean, I'll probably just want to put out a word of encouragement or two. Like, cycling is probably the best skill you could pick up because it covers everything. A mode of transportation, it's a skill, it's a mode of fitness. It's just the best thing that could happen to anyone. And for those of us who probably cycled when they were smaller and now they're like, oh, it's been years, it's been years. There's something I always say, which is on our website, is you actually never forget how to cycle. It's not one of those things that, oh, you read in school and sometimes you can't remember. You don't forget. All you have to do is just pick up a bicycle and you're back up with it. So probably the next thing you need to now deal with is your road confidence and the fear of Lagos roads. But yeah, it's one of the best things that could happen to you and for your physical health, for your mental health.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned, that is on the push it, that you don't get to forget. So do you hear, Osaze? So you will not forget it. Yeah, maybe as you said about you talked about your website. I think people who are interested, maybe who are in Lagos, like I know when someone travels, he's like, what can I do in this city? What can I do in that city? So could you share with us some of the well, it may be the website as we said, but also some of the social channels to anyone who is interested to learn more about you that he or she can navigate through. Yeah.
Okay, the website is www.citycyclers.com.ng. That's city, C-I-T-Y, cyclers, cyclers.com.ng. The Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is all at City Cyclers NG, at City Cyclers NG.
Okay. Yeah,
so you can reach out, send a DM. There's a form on the website, fill it up, and someone will reach out immediately.
Yeah, I hope, and I will be recommending some of my friends
Yeah,
who are just
looking forward to that.
And they don't have to come and sit. They have to come and be active in the Lagos.
Yeah, of course. No, we will help them be active. We will help them be active.
Yeah, that's a good experience. Yeah, thank you. If you don't have any other thing, we appreciate this time and then the insight and experience back home in Nigeria when you're doing cycling. I'm glad that you mentioned one of the city I don't remember where I got it, Ikorodu. So maybe we will learn about other cities as well, or other small cities, how they're doing, and then they can learn from this conversation. And then that's how we can accelerate that development we talked about in the start. And I don't know if she has anything to add, but we appreciate this time. It was exciting, and then we hope the audience also will learn more from it. Asaze?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Seun. It was really an interesting session and I learned so much. I myself am encouraged, and we also appreciate you for the recommendations you gave. I see they are practical ones that even our audience can put into practice, and they can also be encouraged to take up cycling. We are really honored to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
So bye from us.
All right. Bye.